So people with expertise in that area who like the look of some of our trolleys and boxes, get in touch, and yeah, look forward to speaking soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. And we'll move to the next pitch. So LMS, yes.
So, hi, my name's John Weatherall. Oh, who controls the slides? You control the slides, I guess. Yeah, so we had our funding quite a long time ago. I was working with Transport for Greater Manchester, Sam Lee there, and also actually Amazon, although they weren't paying for it. It would have been nice if they had been paying for it. So the background falls very nicely off the previous slides, actually. They were looking at, this was around quite a long time ago now, 2003 or 4, I don't forget, time travels very fast. Looking at, they'd already put in some small e-bike delivery solutions for Amazon parcels based off the Manchester Amazon hub in Old Trafford, which, if you know, Manchester is quite a long way out of the city. When you have e-bike delivery, it's quite different. You can't carry as much, and it feeds very nicely back to the previous pictures around, you know, subloading, offloading, all these themes around, they call it the last minute problem or the last meter problem. It's not even the last mile problem, which you often see termed. It's the putting the parcel into someone's hands, and particularly in somewhere like urban Manchester, where a lot of people live in big apartments, but not all with concierge services. That last meter can be very challenging. The elevation that a delivery driver travels in a given day can be quite crazy. But also parking, as you saw in that picture there, parking legally, not double parking. So it pushes Amazon into the idea they want to work with e-bikes in some of these spaces, and they've done trials I think their biggest trials, Glasgow, London, Manchester. I don't know what, I was wondering what the kind of current state of the trials are. I don't think they've created any new ones, but I don't think they've shut down the ones they've got. What were we doing in this? So Manchester, Transport for Greater Manchester, which represents kind of transport in Manchester, we're trying to encourage them to use some kind of micro consolidation or micro hubs, because basically a bike can carry about 90 parcels, a van carries about 200, or maybe it's the other way around. But basically I think maybe a van carries 80 and a bike carries 90, but it can do twice as many trips in a day. But the problem is, if you've got your kind of offloading hub 3 miles out of the centre, that means the bike has to travel into the centre, do its deliveries, and then spend another hour kind of travelling back. And you end up almost with a congestion of bikes going back to the main logistics hub, which is Amazon's existing Manchester warehouse, to then move forward into wasting time, really. So what you want to do is you want to move the parcels via a van or a lorry to a central location, and Manchester identified a couple of kind of redundant spaces where that could be, that they could then become dedicated bike hubs. It's very complicated because there's a lot of questions there about health and safety. Amazon don't really share space. Some people do share space. It all kind of falls back into all the conversations you've been having about the complexities of hubs. Oh, I'm running out of time already. Do another slide quickly then, I guess, if we've got one more slide. Was that my last slide? Oh, good. No, that's my last. Oh, yeah, there you go. So what did we achieve? We had to kind of model the whole of Amazon's delivery algorithms and everything. They told us how they worked, but obviously they wouldn't give them to us. So it turned into a very technically demanding project with lots of create lots of tools to replicate delivery in a digital twin, really. So it's a really, really neat, what we've got is a really neat solution for planning out future installations of any sort of delivery or any kind of transport things, really, but particularly around delivery. So it's actually a really, really good solution. We'd like to kind of find some more partners to trial it with, maybe some of the people on this call here, or please, if you have a plan that you're trying to put forward into funding, come and talk to us first rather than spend a year trying to write what we wrote. It was quite challenging. And I think what we'll do with it is obviously we're going to kind of look for some future funding. We have had a bit more funding and we have spent some more time on it. I think the way we're going to work with it moving forward is move it into a kind of sort of software as a service type thing where you can type in your postcode and your problem and bang, you'll be able to run some of the solutions. That's kind of where we want to take it. So I won't waste your time anymore. Thank you very much. Got 2 minutes, guys, quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, pitch Smart Skies.
Hi everyone. So I'm Mike Walker. I'm the COO and co-founder of Smart Skies. Smart Skies is an aviation platform that's digitizing general aviation. If we could do the next slide, please, that would be great. Thanks very much. So digitizing general aviation, not just to modernize flying, but to unlock large-scale drone operations across the UK. So the sky is open, the systems underneath it are not, and we're here to change that. So next slide, please. There we go. So general and light commercial aviation at the moment still runs on manual paper-based processes. In the UK alone, there are 21,000 registered aircraft flying sort of circa 1.3 million general aviation hours every year through 28,000 pilots, 200 flight schools and more than 800 airfields. Almost all coordination, flight intentions, approvals, logs, updates happen through paper spreadsheets, phone calls and radios. By 2030, PwC predicts over 76,000 commercial drones operating in UK airspace, adding more than 10 times today's flying hours. So this isn't an airspace problem, it's a data and coordination problem, and paper simply can't scale. Next slide, please. So Smart Skies is a connected aviation data platform. We enable pilots, airfields, drone operators to communicate flight intentions, approvals and real-time updates digitally, aligned with the new CAA regulatory controls being developed by NAT. The platform provides two-way digital communication beyond radio range, real-time tracking, shared situational awareness, earlier problem detection and in-flight updates. So Smart Skies avoids complex airspace highways, it promotes open cooperative skies and improves safety, dramatically increasing airspace availability for drone operations. It's also a valuable and investable market. Next slide, please. So why now? So unmanned aviation has moved from concept to reality. Drones are delivering blood across London. Beyond visual line of sight operations are becoming routine. Urban air mobility infrastructure is being built. Innovation is not a constraint, integration is. The market needs a common digital foundation that connects legacy aviation with unmanned operations, and Smart Skies is built for that. So next slide, please. So through Trig, drone movements are being integrated into the Smart Skies platform. We already support pilot planning, flight initiation, in-flight updates and real-time dashboards, but new functionality now enables routine BVLOS operations, including pop-up airfields, managed last-mile flights, digital approvals, landing briefings, in-flight communication, and also CAA formatted post-flight logs. This creates a cooperative ecosystem for airfields, drone operators, logistics providers and regulators. So last slide, next steps, we're raising £760,000 through EIS at the moment to fund national rollout. The investment supports CAA engagement, national infrastructure development, airfield network expansion, product development across GA and drone use cases and strategic partnerships. And our goal is to make Smart Skies the digital backbone of UK low-level airspace, and we'd welcome any conversations to support those next steps. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mike. And now I'm delighted to pass on to my colleague, Rebecca Advani, who's Senior Consultant at Connected Places Catapult, to give some very useful advice for any organization that never targeted the last mile delivery industry before. So I pass on to you, Rebecca.
Thank you as well. And thanks for the next slide. Hopefully this is not too overwhelming. It's not for you to read every part of right now, but it's to give a flavour of the stakeholder landscape across freight, but with a particular focus on last mile delivery. I put that it's not exhaustive, it definitely is not. And in fact, the innovators we've just heard from are not on here, and there's many very interesting activities going on in the space, but this is how we're trying to make sense of it. As Steve mentioned, it is a fairly fragmented industry in the UK, but we're starting with the cargo owners or the customers, who it is that's needing to send freight somewhere, like retailers or grocery companies, and they tend to, some of them run their own logistics, but others subcontract to logistics operators who look at that whole the whole delivery from end to end, with the post and parcels or on-demand logistics like for food and other convenience services. And then some of those urban specialists, we were talking about cargo bikes and other providers that we have there. And an area for a lot of innovation, as you've been hearing, is in the technology and data systems. So some of those software systems that help the logistics operators to orchestrate all of the movements that are happening. You also need to monitor fleets and vehicles in real time and map and route. There's a lot of systems there. And then autonomous delivery platforms, which could potentially sit in different ones of these bubbles, but I've got there in terms of robots and drones, which we've been discussing. So the other red blobs, the infrastructure owners and operators, as we were talking about the need for use of the infrastructure in new ways, potentially physically changing the infrastructure, looking at charging for electric vehicles, all of that, you may need to interact with infrastructure owners and operators. And then the transport operators tend to be those that are subcontracted to do the actual movement, but they're not planning the whole piece themselves. So that's part of the sort of fragmentation as well. Those can be organised in different ways. And then all of the slightly more peripheral pieces, there's trade associations in the UK who can help with understanding the market and talking to a number of organisations at once that we've engaged with. Then and the innovation ecosystem, there is also more than that, but testing some vehicles need to happen at the like physical vehicle trials. We have test tracks in the UK, and I put vehicle manufacturers there who sometimes are related to the other parts. Sometimes they're separate, just manufacturing the vans and trucks that you may need to integrate with. And then we've got funding, insurance and investment, and policy and regulation. These are areas that we also work a lot with so that we can support companies with overcoming those barriers and seeking funding. And lastly, I've got academia on there who those are some of the universities around the UK with specialism in logistics and some in last mile delivery specifically. They can often be very useful to partner with to get more insights or detailed analytics and show the benefits of your solution. So next slide, please. This is somewhat building on the discussion that Steve and Stephen had at the beginning of the session. I had to mention Starship as I'm coming to you from Milton Keynes and used to have one permanently on the corner of my street because one of my neighbours delivered baklava around the city from there. But yeah, there's a lot of robots now globally in many countries, and they are becoming just a standard part of operations here. We've obviously talked a lot about drones, but at Connect Places Catapult we worked with Skyports looking at critical deliveries, medical deliveries in Scotland, and also Royal Mail services to the Orkney Islands. So there's a lot of use cases where drones make a lot of sense. And then in terms of the networks and infrastructure, we've mentioned lockers and that type of consolidation, and also the need for micro hubs and taking some of that chaos out of the very densely populated areas. So an example is Urban Micro Hub Alliance, where they're looking for underused areas of London, like car parks and railway arches, to make these micro hubs. They've got 22 already at the moment, so that they can do all of that smart consolidation without everyone getting on top of each other. So that's working well so far. And then looking at the smarter and connected operations, obviously that's a lot of what's been discussed by the innovators as well. And can't talk about the future without talking about AI. And companies like Rooted are already using AI for delivery optimization platforms. There's a number of other companies doing that as well. And that is obviously expected to be a big part of the future, and looking at how you integrate the physical and digital systems and improve efficiency, and as was mentioned, the customer communication through those systems as well. The next slide, please. In terms of tips for those new to the sector, we've been thinking about this both for transport. Probably a lot of this applies to transport in general, but also last mile delivery. And the first step is really to think about your customers' procurement priorities. So that might be reducing cost or risk, or increasing reliability and resilience. And the compatibility with existing systems is really important, as we were talking about, considering what the existing systems are, where they might be inefficient, but where you still need to work with them, at least in a transitional phase. And also, if you can help your customers with any compliance issues that they're having, like emissions or other safety concerns, then that will always be a win. So the next thing would be looking at your own unique selling point and trying to solve a specific operational constraint, at least initially, to get in the door, and explain where you can take some pain point away, whether that's reducing the failed deliveries or automating dispatch decisions, something that they're struggling with. And it may be that you can expand beyond that once you've got engaged with a customer. We've heard about trials and pilots today, and that's something that we at CPC also often help organisations with. So having a time-bound pilot and very clear measurable outcomes showing that you've achieved what you set out to, and doing that without disrupting the operations that are already going on, that can obviously sell what you're doing to the customer involved in the trial, but also gain credibility for when you go and talk to others. Next slide, please. And when you're doing a trial, or even beforehand, it's also really important to think about the scale of operation beyond a trial and what deployment could look like. In talking to customers like Royal Mail, they find that they talk to people who can think about the technology at a trial or smaller scale, but not necessarily at that scale that they need to work out across the country. So especially for new vehicle types, there's a lot to consider when it comes to rolling out more generally. And this was, I think, mentioned in some form in all the presentations as well, is what is that integration friction that you will probably find at all stages, because if you're trying to integrate into an existing system, whether that is the city or someone else's digital systems, or just their ways of working, you need to understand those legacy systems, how their drivers are currently operating, what their liability constraints are, how they share data or don't share data at the moment, and try to consider that those may take time, and that they need a conversation as early as possible to work through all of that integration. And lastly, it can be much easier to enter the market through partners and existing systems. So competitions like TRIG or some of the accelerators that we run or other organisations run can give you that support, access to more contacts and guidance, and really smooth the way on your journey. Thank you very much, and I'll back to Isabel.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. And to close this series of expert insights, I would like to hand over to one of our TRIG board member, Yula, who's also very versed in the last mile delivery. As you can see through TRIG, we convene a lot of expertise internally, but also externally with our network and our board members. So this is the kind of expertise the TRIG organization can access to. So I'll pass on to Yula.
Thank you. Thanks, Isabel. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a little bit in a challenging situation now because everything what we have heard so far is so relevant when it comes to the deployment of innovation. The reason why we have seen those presentations from the innovators, it is because they are thinking already in the way how you can deploy these kind of innovations. Stephen, at the very beginning, they mentioned already many of those things which are happening around us. So we can really see that we are not lacking the different technological solutions when it comes to the last mile delivery. We all know how important this part of the supply chain is, and actually what pressure it puts on our cities. And it's not changing; it's actually going to get worse and worse. So it's not really about the technology that we are not having the right technology in place. It's much more about the adoption risk and what the operators are actually looking for. Because when we are looking back into the questions what they are asking and need to answer, it's very much the same as 5-10 years ago. And it is because the system what they are operating it, as it was highlighted previously as well, it's really, really complex. And when we think about which features of that system they can real control of, it's also quite limited. So what makes an operator and someone who is using these innovative solutions to the point that actually they can risk the change, they can risk the adoption of something which is different from the well-established which they are currently running their solution on. Just thinking about the system itself, the different contracts, and the fleet cycles, the depots, the locations, the delivery routines, SLAs, insurances, health and safety, curbside management, and so on. It also brings a lot of different type of stakeholders together. And so really when it comes to innovation, for me, one of the key points is from day zero, when you start thinking about what is the problem, what you're actually serving here, because it's not the technology which is in the center, it's the problem what you need to focus on, is how that problem can help to different operators and actually answer the specific problems what they are facing. So the real operational question is, will this disrupt my operation, increase costs, reduce reliability, and so on? When it comes to the answer itself, I think we really need to have a very, very straightforward process in place. Problem first, making sure that there is safe testing. So we really understood how that solution can work in an operational environment. And there are a lot of different ways to do that. Actually, CPC has not just the TRIG, but other next stage funding opportunities as well, which can really help for the innovators to bring those ideas through the whole process to getting into investable and deployable in a large scale. Obviously, you need to have in place the numbers. So you need to measure what you have done in that operational environment, because organizations need to understand what would it mean for them if they are deploying the different type of solutions. So one easy example, I just made it up, but if you think about one fewer fare delivery per vehicle per day, which is roughly costed between 7 to 14 pounds, and you have a 50 number of fleet vehicle, that could cost for the operation 150,000 pounds per year. That's a massive saving for an operation which is looking, and that's a tiny change what can be looked into to be deployed. When it comes to the different environments where you can test these. As I said, CPC has some of those already established, but we have seen recently how Thames Freeport was looking into deploying new innovative solution through accelerators, and many of you actually who are now listening this presentation have been participated previously in trials. One thing what I think is super important when it comes to the trials, to making sure that you're already not just ready for answering the right questions, but you are also ready for the commercialization and the scale up. Because very often what we have seen, the trials are specifically suited for that small time frame, what it is deployed in, but not really being able to adopt into the large scale operation. I really want to leave enough time for the questions. So just 3 principles to the very end of this part when it comes to innovation deployment is make sure you're problem-led, make sure that you're de-risking the adoption process itself, and there is a process in place which will help you to go through each of those steps, and the solution is de-risked from the operational side, and make sure that you are designing for scale from day one. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Before I start presenting Trig, I think we've got one question, but it's for Joey. So I don't know if you're still on the call. I know you're at the airport, so maybe you couldn't stay in the call, but are you still here, Joey, from Mostar? If not, I'm going to start, and I'll email the question to Joey so he can respond directly to Lei. Okay, so next slide, please. So no surprise here, Trig has been launched on Monday, but I just wanted to give the opportunity to take the opportunity to present what Trig is. So Trig is an innovation funding program supporting bold early stage ideas aiming to solve real world transport challenges. So it helps innovators with engagement, and we provide supports to develop the solution. So through Trig, which is a collaboration between DFT and Connected Places Catapult, we allow innovators to develop a proof of concept or a small scale prototype, and we are delighted to support any type of organization, such as private companies, charities, local authorities, academic, including also startup, scale up, medium size. So any type of organization can apply. So I encourage you to go to our website and find out about the competition. Next slide, please. So where Trig fit in your innovation journey? So Trig is open for projects that are between TRL 2 to 4 when you apply. So meaning that the technology needs to be formulated, but it should be pre-testing. So at the end of the project, so after 5 months being part of Trig, you might reach TRL 5, which means that you will have validated your solution in the relevant environment. But it's not because the program ends that we no longer support our innovators, because we've launched the Trig alumni community, where all innovators can support each other, but also we provide some content about the market. We provide some introduction to the industry. So being part of Trig is joining a vibrant community of innovators and being supported by Connected Places Catapult for longer term. Next slide, please. What's the value of Trig? We actually conducted a benchmark 2 years ago, I think, and we really realized that Trig is unique. There's nothing else like Trig. And what you will get, apart from the £45,000 grant, which is 100% match 100% funding, so you don't need some matching fund. You've got a direct engagement with a policy expert from DFT. So we organize during the Trig program a monthly virtual meetings where you can engage with some policy lead and explain where you're progressing in terms of your innovation, and also interact with other Trig members. We also provide some opportunities to gain visibility throughout some pitch events, some demo days, and also at the end of the program, we always organize a showcase event. So sometimes piggybacking on other existing events, or sometimes some standalone event, so innovators can present their solution at the end of the program. We also organize various learning sessions at cohort level, but also for the first time this year, we're building some more tailored support for some entrepreneurs that need a little bit more support in terms of developing their solution and their business. And as mentioned before, being part of Trig is also joining a vibrant community of 470 projects that have been supported by Trig in the last 11 years. So yeah, that's the value of Trig. If we can move to the next slide, please. So applications are open until the 5th of June. We have worked quite hard in the background to make the process very accessible and easy for everyone to engage. And you can apply to any of the 5 challenges that are available. So one is maritime decarbonization, another one freight innovation, critical technology, digital twin, and open call. So I encourage you to subscribe to register to our webinar on Tuesday, where all our DFT policy lead and challenge owner will present a bit more of what they expect for Trig, and we will give you a bit more detail on how to apply to Trig. But again, it's a very simple process, accessible to everyone. So even if you never applied for a grant or you never worked in the transport industry before, Trig is a program for you. So I really encourage you to join us. Next slide, please. I hope you really enjoyed the session today. It's very important for us to receive your feedback. So if you could scan the QR code just here and complete the survey, only takes 5 minutes. So it's very important for us to improve our session. And we've got another session again in an hour, and then all the Future of Transport series will happen every 3 months. So stay tuned, and thank you very much for joining. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to our speakers.